everything I do is done so imperfectly. And if I waited until everything was perfect, then I would never get any of this done. So when I launch a course, I may have forgotten to put a PDF in or something, and I just say, right, it's coming tomorrow or whatever. Not everything has to be perfect for you to just do it. Just do it anyway. Hi, I'm Ciara Gilmore, and welcome back to Light Between the Layers podcast. And today we're going to be diving into your art and whether or not it's good enough to sell, and how you know whether it's good enough to sell or not.
Love that. And I'm Esther, and I'm the producer for the podcast. So, yeah, how do you know when your abstract painting is good enough to sell? That's a tough question.
That is a really tough question. And obviously art is very subjective. So your art can be good enough to sell at any stage, really, if somebody sees it and wants to buy it. So it is a really, difficult one to answer, but there are certain things that you can apply to your abstracts that that will help you um that will help you see whether it is of a good quality, of a gallery worthy quality, for example. And that's where I love talking about the fundamentals of abstract art. And that's something that I teach in my course. And it's really understanding what makes painting, something that is visually appealing. So it kind of has to have a few things. So it has to have a good composition, and it has to have balance. It can't be something that's sticking out in a corner that's really jarring, and it takes the pleasure away from viewing the piece because that bit's not right. It doesn't belong there. It's sticking out. So it's like trying to balance a piece and make it look so that there's nothing that's jarring, nothing that's going to take attention away from the piece itself. The whole piece should be unified. It should feel like a complete piece. It shouldn't feel disjointed. And the other thing is value. So when you look at an abstract piece, it's the same as looking at like a portrait. So when you see a portrait, you see it in 3D, hopefully because it's good enough and it looks like a 3D shape of a face. And in abstracts, you don't have to have anything 3D because it's not anything, it's not an object. But the key to a good abstract is to have value in there. So lots of different ranges of values. And by that, I mean darks, mediums, and lights, because the eye sees value first before it sees color. So you could have as many colors and bright colors as you like in a piece, but if they're all just saturated, all the same kind of value, like they could be like lots and lots of pale colors, for example, it's kind of going to look a bit flat. And so it is good to mix your values in there and have to create depth in an abstract. You need the dark and the light. Now, you don't always have to have a focal point like my paintings have. Definitely don't have to do that. But you can see from my paintings that there is depth in there, that there is like, you kind of feel as if there's a bit of distance, that they're not flat. And with abstracts, that's kind of where you know, you need to have that because the eye will pick up on that and the eye won't know what it is that's annoying it. There's no depth in this, but you don't know what it is that's wrong with it. It's probably because their values are off a little bit. So it's good to have a mixture of values in, and obviously your color choices can be really important as well. And I'm a bit of a I know I like to take risks, but in painting, I kind of go to my safe color choices and I always choose the ones that work well together. So you can't get any better than, blues and golds. And they are complementary colors, yeah. And like yellows and purples go well together as well. And then greens and reds or pinks. So and again, it's good to start off with those safe color choices before you dive into big, extravagant palettes, you know. Yeah, there are a few things that will help you decide, is this good enough? You know, is it worthy to be sold? So you check all these things. So it's like, well, how are my values? Is my composition okay, or is it not right? Is there something really jarring? Like your eye will see it. And one way that I teach my students is to take a photograph of it and see it very, very small. So a little tiny thumbnail of it will very, very quickly identify the problems in your painting, and also turn it around and go away and leave it for 2 days and come back. And as soon as you turn it around again, you'll see exactly what's wrong with it. Something that you've been looking at for 5 hours in the studio that day that you can't see will suddenly become the only thing you see when you've left it for a few days to rest and you haven't looked at it. So that's a pretty good, indicator of how you can kind of improve your painting, or kind of push it back a bit or change your composition. So it's kind of about working through these fundamentals and using them as a guide to check how your painting is looking and what it's doing, how it's acting. But more than that, you kind of just know, yeah, after you've been doing it a while, you kind of know, well, this is not my best work, or this is really good. And also, if you're wanting to sell your art, you will probably do a bit of research. Go to maybe gallery lists and have a look at other artists' work that is of a similar kind of genre as yours, medium as yours, and see what makes a really good piece of work. And teach yourself. You have to be a student continually when you're an artist. So study it, have a look, see what are they doing that's really good, that makes their art good enough to sell. What is it? Analyze it and take a look at your own, and have a wee, bit of self-reflection, not high criticism, just a little bit of kind of, okay, well, do you know what? Her compositions work really, really well, and mine are, there's something not right about it. I'm gonna, you can mimic her compositions with your colors. You know, you don't have, it's not copying, it's just part of the learning process. So it's about studying other artists' work. It's about seeing what's selling and doing the research without falling into the trap of comparison and going down a rabbit hole in Instagram, and then at the end giving up as an artist forever, because we know that that can happen. So yeah, and also doing like my course will help. My course will help you identify and make you more confident about knowing when a piece is good enough. And one of the best things, like my students do it, and I love the way they do it. They just do a piece, they put it on Facebook, and suddenly it's sold. Yeah, yeah. So and it's because they're good. My students' work are good, and they are selling. So that's a very strong indicator that your work's good enough to sell if you sell it.
The next question is, can an abstract art be taught, or is it just talent or intuition?
I think it always does help to have a little bit of talent, and if you want to create and paint, well, then you have some creativity in there somewhere. There's something pulling you in that direction and you're enjoying it. And, abstract is one of those things that, even if you find out that you're not very good at it, maybe, and it's not something you want to pursue as a career, that's fair enough too. You can still do it for the pure healing and joy of it. It doesn't matter. You still do it for the act of creating, for the act of painting and creating a painting for your own home or for your friends. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece or a work of art. So who knows? I mean, certainly there's been people that have joined my course and they have not looked like they've had much talent. And oh my gosh, have they transformed their artwork, like, amazing. So I know that with hard work and with dedication and with, following through with the teachings and the learnings, that you can get there. So yeah, yeah, I would say having a bit of talent is no bad thing,
But it
but
can be taught
but it can
regardless.
be taught. I
But
think
you
it can
may
be
not
taught.
be.
You may not. It's
With
hard to know
producing.
because how do I know whether somebody has that talent before, or even did they know? Maybe they didn't have an opportunity to do much art at school. So how did they even know they had that, inbuilt in them beforehand? So it's hard,
Because you were sharing earlier that like you come from a family of artists and
Yeah.
creatives.
Yeah, so I know that there's talent in our family. That's a definite. Is my mother, she was a sculptor. My sister's an artist, my brother's an artist, and my uncle, he would make stained glass windows. Beautiful,
So they're like
amazing.
actually professional.
Proper ones in a church.
Wow.
Yeah, in lots
No,
of
I mean like
churches. Oh,
everybody like being an artist as a profession. Like this is
no, no, actually not. Most of them as a side. I think I'm the only one who's full time. So, but interestingly enough, my sister, she's an art teacher. So still there's the art there. And my uncle was an art teacher as well. My mum was a teacher. So the teaching is in there. The
yes, yes,
teaching's
yes,
definitely
yes.
in there. And then I don't know what my grandparents were like art wise, but my great grandparents, my great grandfather was a stonemason. He sculpted altars and things like that. And that was in Skerries in Ireland. Yeah. So that was in the 1920s or before that. So
Wow.
so yeah, there's definitely a line of art genes running through the family. So I have to, very grateful for that.
Yeah, because then you were exposed to that growing up, and obviously your siblings as well. Like
Yeah.
such an interesting like thing to be, because not a lot of people have that. A lot of people grow up believing that they're not creative
Mm-hmm.
and that they don't have that innate. And creativity seems to be the thing that makes people the most insecure.
Yeah.
You know, especially because I work a lot in the corporate world, and it's like
Uh-huh.
it's really been beat out of them
Mm-hmm.
that they're not
Mm-hmm.
creative. It's very like technical and
Yeah.
corporate and da da da. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
introducing that sense of play is like so scary to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's so interesting that like, and what a joy and a privilege that that's just been your life, you
Yeah.
know, where a lot of
Yeah.
people haven't grown up with that.
Yeah. I did kind of take a route of more sensible route whenever I left school. I became an occupational therapist, so that was kind of my sensible route. But I ended up going into a specialty where hand therapy, but part of that was making splints for people. So I had to mold splints so it and draw them out and it felt very creative and artistic. It was the only artistic thing I was getting from that job. So that was really, really good.
Yeah.
And
And
I
did
was
you enjoy being an occupational therapist?
yeah, yeah, I did. But it ran its course. I was ready for something new. And but alongside it, I always was painting. So even like I never stopped painting from school, always painted. So I would do paintings for people. So lots of people I've known in my life have got paintings from me as presents all the way through whatever age I was. That's what they got, a painting from me. I did ceramics as well, pottery. I did night classes and oil painting, and I also did an illustration course as well. So I've just always submerged myself in learning something creative, and no matter what it was, all the time having a regular salary through my full-time occupational therapy job, which was secure, but also what it was doing. I got 10 years into that profession and at that point was ready to move out, but was too scared to open my own business. Far too scary. And because I was used to the monthly income and security and the pension, all of those
And you
things.
had a family at this point?
No,
No.
no. But when I did have my family, I took a career break, and that's when I just never went back.
Interesting. So you
Hmm
were an OT for 10 years
Yeah,
at
15 and all then.
15 and
Yeah,
then took a career break to raise your children
yeah,
and then
never went back.
wow.
Yeah.
But then you have your whole life of this collecting different
Yeah,
techniques and doing all
I
these
know,
things on the
doing so many
side.
different
So
things.
then when did you decide to do your like crafting business?
So that was kind of when the kids were young. Actually, what really inspired me was all the baby clothes. So I cut up all their baby clothes and sewed them into little houses with the yellow cranes in the background, sold them at George's Market.
Oh, But St. George's Mark's not easy to get into.
I know, I know.
As like a person with your own stall, like
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
hard to get
Yeah,
into.
yeah. I was there for a couple of years. It was very, very cold. So I have all these pictures of me at my stall with my kids very, very young. And but we loved it because we would go there and we would get, one of those big potato breads with the egg and the sausages and the fry on the potato bread that was that size. To have that for breakfast, and then we were beside the fudge counter, so we'd get our fudge and stuff. And it was just great crack. It was great crack, like. But it didn't. I mean, it so had a few good days. We're talking like maybe one or 200 quid or something. But I was selling like these little pieces for £40 max, and they were worth about 90. But yeah. But so I didn't make any money at all. And then I went from that to selling these ones, the smaller ones, even in the early stages for a few £100. And then that went up to, past 1,000, and then the bigger ones then for a few thousand. And then you get, big commissions and stuff for doing even bigger ones, and the price keeps going up. So you finally feel you're being rewarded for your time and your talent, because I feel that they're not just paying you for making that one painting, they're paying you for, like, for me, the 30 years that I spent at every art workshop, every course I did, every painting I painted, all of the experience and skill that I accumulated over the years to get me to this point. And I think artists forget that. They think, oh, it only took me 2 hours to do that, I'm going to just charge this amount. No, it's not about the time. It's about what you've created. It's this beautiful piece. And don't, the worst thing artists can do is undercharge, and they do it all the time. And people don't want to buy cheap art.
So then you closed
Close that down.
down, but you were still doing the abstract in the background, and then you finally made the
Yeah,
transition.
yeah.
And then were you selling predominantly online?
So yes, I was selling a lot from Instagram, a lot of commissions from Instagram, and just selling from my Instagram. Instagram's a bit different now. Back then, it was whenever you put a post up, people actually saw it and they engaged with it, and you got all these DMs and everything. Now it's changed. I don't know what Instagram has become. And then I got into galleries, and galleries helped sell my work. And that's great. I love working with galleries, and they do take like 50%. So, but they have their overheads, and they get that 50% for selling your work. So, they have to be paid as well. But it is always nice when you get a sale from your online shop, or, just somebody send you an email saying, can I have a piece or commission a piece or whatever, and you get everything, the full whack. Lots of people talk about, and I'll talk about this in another episode, but lots of people talk about, what type of artist are you? Are you a gallery artist, or are you an online artist? If you're one, you can't be the other. Well, you can be whatever you want to be. You create your own business. You decide.
Yeah,
You
yeah. And I'm
decide.
excited to touch on that of your experience of being in certain galleries and then being annoyed that you have
Yeah.
a successful, thriving business selling courses. And,
Yeah.
that's for another episode, but it's just like, it's super
Yeah.
interesting that the sense of like pigeonholing your income stream.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another thing. Sometimes there is an element of control from galleries, and they want to be able to make sure that you're doing what they feel that you should be doing. But and a lot of artists are happy enough with that, because they're maybe just doing this on the side. But for me, this is my main business, and my business was just building and building. I had multiple income. I have multiple income streams, prints as well. I sell them passively, which is amazing. So I don't have to roll them up. I have a company that makes them for me, and they're shipped out. I don't even have to pack them or anything. And I sell commissions, I sell from galleries, and I sell independently, to businesses and to collectors. But then I also have my courses as well, which is an amazing passive income. And I think for artists, it's really important to have multiple income streams. If you're just focusing on one, what if it dries up one month? You want to have some more coming through the other streams, especially passive. And so one of the things that I teach in my course is how to scale your business. And you can only really scale it if there's just one of you, through passive means. And that's courses, and prints. I also did take in-person workshops along the way, which was my first taster into doing my own online courses. And I used to teach, it wasn't an abstract, I used to teach needle felting and wet felting.
Wow.
Yeah. So everything that I did along the way culminated in what's happening now. It gave me the experience and the skills, and the thing I want to talk about as well, just about this, because people will say, "How are you doing all these things?" And that's too much, and I'm not don't want to do all those different things. Well, everything I do is done so imperfectly. And if I waited until everything was perfect, then I would never get any of this done. So when I launch a course, I may have forgotten to put a PDF in or something, and I just say, right, it's coming tomorrow or whatever. Not everything has to be perfect for you to just do it. Just do it anyway. And, I show up as imperfect because that's who we all are, and you might get a few people complaining they haven't received something or whatever, but it's okay, you'll just get it to them. But if I waited, I know I wouldn't do it if I was waiting for everything to be absolutely perfect. I do try and get everything organized. When you're a perfectionist and whenever you're trying to dot every single I, cross every single T, then you never get, it's exhausting, you never get it done. And I teach in my courses that perfectionism is overrated and that you just have to, you know, do it anyway, do it imperfectly. Because while you're doing it, for the first time I launched a course, like it was rubbish. I didn't know what I was doing. It was awful. But now if I want to promote a course or launch a course or write emails, I know what to do. But I didn't back then, but I did it anyway. That's the key. Do it anyway. Do it scared. Do it fearful. Step out of your comfort zone. Just do it and stop whinging. Stop making excuses. I hate it when people make excuses. It's like, so what? What's the worst can happen? Like, so, that's the attitude that I suppose I do everything with. So, you know, and
But do you know how refreshing that is? It's so like I've grown up with that kind of mindset and like how I've created my career, but then I've
yeah,
sidestepped into like working with a lot of corporate people over the last couple of years, which I love. But
yeah,
the perfectionism, oh my God,
uh-huh,
is everything has to be at least 95%, or else it's
uh-huh,
not going out
right.
or it's not being done.
Yeah,
And it really is so stifling
yeah,
because there's so many blocks in the way of just getting something out and figuring out and getting the data and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And it
yeah, yeah.
becomes too mechanical and like you
Yes,
lose the
it's not
creativity
organic and
and you miss the creative element of
yeah.
like,
And also people want imperfection. They want to see people making mistakes. They want to see people laughing and making mistakes and going, oh, flip, you know.
and it's taken away the power from the mistakes or the
Yeah.
failure, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.